Welcome to the Stupid Show episode 4. We can only apologise for Stupid Show episode 3 last night, which was an unmitigated disaster in every way, but we've banished that to the back of our minds and we're going forward with a positive attitude because there's precisely 3 days left, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, here at COP15 to save our collective asses. And frankly, it's not going very well so far. The deal is not going too well, but the good news is Daryl Hannah is here. Hey! Why are you here in Copenhagen?
I'm here to add my voice to all those who are here to usher out the fossil fuel age and bring in a clean energy future.
And I believe you're ushering out, or you've already ushered out the fossil fuel age in your own home. Is this true?
I have, yeah. I don't use petroleum in my vehicles, and I've been on solar power for about 18, 19 years. But I think there's a lot of danger in this climate conference that only corporate interests and special interests are looked after, and I think it's up to us to remind our politicians that, there's people, other species on the planet too that needs to be looked after, and that's really what they're supposed to be here doing.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for walking by at just the perfect moment. See you, Daryl. Nice to meet you. So after yesterday's disaster show, we've managed to get some top guests to keep you watching tonight, including Naomi Klein, probably one of the cleverest people thinking about climate change anywhere on the planet. We've also got the father of Kyoto and some very good news about trees, which I'm sure you're going to love. But for now, we're going to have an update from Mark Linus. Come on, Mark, dear.
Hello.
Mark, what's happened today?
A lot more than happened yesterday. Yesterday we wasted an entire day in process. There were all of these meetings which ended up with meetings which then got cancelled as soon as you turned up. So actually today there's been some real negotiating going on, but it's all about the very minor details. So everything's still in square brackets, even the minor stuff. And we've got ministers arriving now. So all of this details work is supposed to have been done. So we're about 2 days behind.
And with the Maldives in particular, what's happening?
Well, the Maldives is busy defending the 350 ppm position. What we need for a safe climate, 350.org.
Yeah.
The movement is supporting this as well outside the conference centre. The 1.5 target that we have for a safe climate. So we're not doing this on our own, the Maldives. We've got at least 100 countries all arguing simultaneously for these targets, and it's still in there. So it's still in the bits of text which really matter.
So even though it's out, it is in some...
It was out yesterday. It's back in now.
Oh, is it?
I haven't seen it actually in a printed text,
okay.
But I sat in this meeting earlier on this morning when there was about 100 countries all speaking for it. So I don't see how they can't put it back in.
And where are you going back to now? Thanks for completely deserting me, by the way. My co-host of this show is totally
Sorry
gone.
about that.
Leaving me stranded. But anyway.
No, I mean, if you want the real story, really is shaping up to be this titanic battle between the United States and China.
Right.
This is what will determine the outcome of this conference. And there's been a sort of phony war with all these other issues going on, and they haven't really yet confronted each other over the trenches.
Right.
But this is
what's
going to happen. Well, it's going to happen on Thursday and Friday.
Wow.
You may end up with Obama actually fighting it out with Hu Jintao.
As in fisticuffs?
Well, no, I don't mean as in fisticuffs. I mean as in actually.
I'm backing Obama on that one.
Yeah.
Great. So where are you going back to now?
I've just got to go and finish a couple of things. The president of the Maldives is actually making a major speech tomorrow at the...
At the Stupid Show?
At the plenary.
There's also a small one he's making at COP15, but the major announcement he's doing is at the Stupid Show tomorrow.
Right, I'll look out for that.
Great. All right, cheers, Mark. Back you go, back to work.
Bye-bye.
See you later. I can't believe he's abandoned me. The other person that's abandoned me is my dad, who's actually, up till today, has been running all of this technical show and has just left us on our own. It's like leaving home all over again. Now, seeing as Mark has abandoned us, we're going to bring back Nick, who you all remember from yesterday, our researcher, who's currently holding up the cue cards, and instead is now going to talk us through what's happened on the sprint. Do you want to grab your card, Nick? Oh, Copenhagen Sprint. Oh, fuck it. Before you start, I'm just going to do a quick recap about what the hell's going on, what this means. Basically, this sprint is the sprint to the right deal at COP15. Here is no deal at all. And then as we go along here, the deal gets better and better and better. These little figures are representing the countries, of course.
That's right.
And some of them are doing extremely badly. And as we go down here, these are the ones that are doing well.
That's
and
right.
obviously the aim is to get to climate safety over there. And these friendly name tags refer to the deal, because if we got this deal, for example, it's called a suicide pact because it would commit us to runaway climate change. It would commit us to hitting 2 degrees, and then it would probably be over for most of life on Earth. Whereas this deal, which some of the countries are going for, the coin flip, is the one that would give us a 50-50 chance of not hitting 2 degrees and not going into runaway climate change. Still quite bad, you might say, 50-50 chance. If the world leaders were standing at the door of a plane telling you to get on and saying there was a 50-50 chance of landing safely, would you get on that plane? The bad news is we're all on that plane. And then finally, these few countries are going for a good chance, but as you can see, there's not many of them. So Nick, tell us the moves on the board today.
Well, basically there's been a lot of talking going on. There've been informal meetings, there've been formal meetings, and they've been happening at the same time all day long, but no obvious progress. We've had some really big, as Mark was saying, expectations from the US and China, but nothing still has come out. So over the last sort of 24 hours, we've still seen a lot of frustration coming from Japan. Now, Japan is really frustrated because even though they've said that they'll arrive with a little bit more climate funds, and they're going to bring 10 billion, a nice round US dollar amount, to the climate fund for short term, that's the first 3 years, they're going to bring it along, but they're really frustrated with the African group because the African group want to keep the legal form, that is the Kyoto Protocol. You might have heard of this before. And the Kyoto Protocol is something that the Africans think is really important for them. So Japan's saying, look, we're working really hard, and Africa, you're not being very constructive. But Africa is saying, look, Japan and Australia and America and the EU, who are all together on this because they don't really care much for the Kyoto Protocol, they're saying, Africa, you're not being very helpful. And that's just really non-diplomatic, especially at this stage of the summit that it's become. So that's definitely the first set of announcements. Now, other than that, Canada today got caught out because Canada have had a leak from their cabinet. Canada have basically been caught out for not even meaning to achieve their minuscule target of 3% on 1990. Now, 3% is not very much. Canada are all the way...
3% is way in the suicide pact level, isn't it?
Yeah, way in the suicide pact level.
So
they're
are they
all
going
the way
back now?
here. Now, they think they're somewhere in line with America, but America is actually at 4%. So they're a little bit ahead, and they don't have half the loopholes that Canada does. Canada, at 3%, creating more loopholes, and, as the leak confirms, not even intending to achieve its targets, definitely moves Canada back quite a long way, almost as far back as our front runner in the back, Saudi Arabia, who's basically asleep. Now, Saudi Arabia got a 0 score on the Climate Change Performance Index released by Climate Action Network EU and the German Watch Group, and that's why Canada and Saudi Arabia are at the far end of this race. They're really not helping at all. Now, the US has also been criticized, and that definitely puts the US back, because the US were the only wealthy country, that is the only Annex 1 country, to block money that comes from shipping and from aviation. So all of the fuel that goes through flying and aeroplanes and shipping cargo around the world can only be governed here at the UNFCCC at the Copenhagen conference, because it's a global problem. No one country can decide, because no one country owns the fuel in between all of the countries. The US basically said, I'm sorry, but any rules on this are going to slow us down and we're not going to have it, and the rest of the world's going to have to wait for that money to come through. And that's basically where we're up to at the moment. It's been a real mess. A lot of the public servants and negotiators have been running around trying to tie up all the loose ends before the ministers have arrived. Now the ministers have arrived, and they're trying to get rid of the pebbles before the heads of state and the leaders arrive. And the leaders have started to arrive and have started to make their speeches in the high-level segment. Now they want to move some big rocks, and they want to make it look like a great success. But at this stage in the race, as you can see, we've got most of our players back in the very far suicide pact half of our race.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Nick.
You're welcome.
We're going to go and see a video that Mark Lynas made yesterday when he spent almost the whole day chasing around trying to get an interview in best Michael Moore style with Steven Chu, the US Energy Secretary.
Now we're here outside the forum in Copenhagen because we're going to make an attempt to speak to Steven Chu, who's the American Secretary for Energy. Now he's a really important guy because he's responsible